I've got some rather sad news for you, Falcons fans. A little channel update for you. I am officially leaving Falcons Today, meaning I will not be your host for the 2026 season. The change will be coming sometime later next week, which is pretty sad for me because I loved hosting this channel. I thought it was a lot of fun getting to know each and every single one of you and covering this team. It was a whole bunch of up and downs throughout the year, but I had a blast doing it. It came at the decision of my bosses to say, hey, we want every single channel to have one host, and this is just one of the channels that they believed had to be passed on. So if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up icon for today's video. Make sure that you do so to meet your new host who will be joining us here within the next week. Again, a pleasure to meet you guys. I'm not leaving the company, so I'll drop by and say hello from time to time. With that, let's get on with the content. It's not all sad, Falcons fans. Not everything is morose today. Welcome into Falcons Today, presented by Prize Picks. You're hanging out with your guy, Moose. Thanks for joining me. The Falcons finally got some great confirmation and also some really bad confirmation from one of my very favorite analysts in Warren Sharp. He's Mr. Analytics, and oh, do I love his stuff. It's actually like geeks me out a little bit when I see his stuff because I'm an analytic nerd at heart when it comes to the game of football. So we'll talk a little bit on the front half about the good confirmation, ultimately leading into the head-scratching bad confirmation. So let's be positive. Smiles all around, right? We'll talk a little bit here about the good news. Bijan Robinson, he votes as the best backs in the National Football League. Like, this is the best running back room, according to Warren Sharp, in the league. And here is the official rankings. He has Atlanta, then Detroit, Buffalo, Indy, Philly, Rams, 49ers, Miami, Arizona, and Baltimore rounding out the top 10 there. And this is finally what I have been asking for. I've been saying this since we signed Bijan Robinson Jr. Name me a better duo. Name me a better room. Right? Tyler Goodson is our RB3 right now. He's probably one of the better threes in the league, at least in my opinion. I've been saying this to you guys. Last year, I went back and looked at what Warren Sharp ranked the Falcons running back duo and room, and he had him at third. Now he's got him at first. So somehow he thinks that Bijan Robinson Jr. is even a step above Tyler Algier. That remains to be seen. We'll have to wait. But I think this is more of an indictment for what Bijan Robinson Jr. is rather than Bijan. Now, don't get my words twisted up there. I'm not saying that he's more impactful than Bijan. Clearly, he's not. But we know what Bijan is. We know what superstar talent he is. Brian is that little extra missing piece this football season. So here's what Falcons Wire, had to say about B-Rob Jr. Robinson is well-equipped to back up Bijan this season and can do some of the same things as a dual threat weapon. Both backs can catch the ball out of the backfield, which Bijan Robinson showcased this last week at OTAs. This was obviously written before OTAs or during OTAs as they were going on before mandatory minicamp. But Bijan Robinson Jr. is so much more than just an RB2. Like, he's a former RB1. Career 4.1 yards per carry. That's pretty impressive. 6'1", 225. He's got the build that you're looking for. He's still in his prime at 26 years old. He can handle volume and sharing, so he's got that ability to say, I can take a step back. I expect somewhere between 7 to 8 carries a game for Bijan Robinson Jr. That's at least where I have him right now. But let's go back to the advanced analytics, right? Last season, 23rd in explosive run rate, 41st in yards after contact per attempt, and 8th in missed tackles forced per attempt. He's a good player. He's got a lot of things going for him, and this is leading into why I believe Bijan Robinson Jr. and Bijan are a force to be reckoned with this upcoming season. Now, before I get to the rest of today's episode, I do got to remind you guys, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks USA. USA! We won yesterday in the World Cup, advancing to the next round, but unfortunately, Balogun has a red card, so he's not going to be playing in the next round. But here's what I got to tell you. If you want to win real cash while watching the World Cup, specifically the United States play, what you got to do is download the Prize Picks app. Use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Now, for example, on all the different ways that you can play, we do this every single time. I'd like to kind of switch it up. But today specifically, we decided to go with 5-pick power play. We're expanding $10 entry to win 120. Now, we made some easier picks here, so it would be easier to win for us and split this money, JD. But if you want to copy this lineup, use the new social feeds feature, or just go to the App Store, download the Prize Picks app, and use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. I think we forget something. Last year was the worst year of Bijan Robinson Jr.'s career, and this is still not that bad. Like, they didn't use him hardly at all. 92 carries, 4.3 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, 400 rushing yards. Over his first 4 seasons in the NFL, by the way, he's had 700-plus yards in 3 of them. Up until last year, he has been solid in gaining momentum throughout the season. 700 yards plus, 700 yards plus. It's only when he goes to San Francisco that he doesn't hit that number. So here's my ultimate take on Bijan Robinson Jr. He is a top 5 RB2 in the league. If you're a former RB1, you have got to be at some point an RB2. Like one of the top RB2s, excuse me, for saying that incorrectly. In fact, in no particular order, here are my top 5 running back 2s. I think it's kind of, at this point, like, I don't need to rank them. But here's, like, if you said, name 5 of the best running back 2s in the league, I'd go Kyle Monungai, Bijan Robinson Jr., Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren, and Travion Henderson. Those would be, like, in any order right now. Don't necessarily know. Got to show some love to the former guy, Tyler Algier, who is currently rotting in Arizona, unfortunately. But here's what I will say. Kevin Stefanski has molded great running backs before. And if you don't believe me, if you don't think he's the right man for the job to lead Bijan and Bijan Robinson Jr. as the workhorses of this offense, you're fooling yourself. Let's go back to Kevin Stefanski's running backs, even as early as his time in Minnesota. He had Dalvin Cook. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was a dog. Nick Chubb, dog. Kareem Hunt at one point was a dog, but when he played for Kevin Stefanski, he was like a really good RB2. And then Quinshon Judkins, who we all believe is going to be a good player moving forward in the NFL. None of them, though, not a single one of these players, is Bijan. And Bijan is one of only 5 running backs last year to have over 1,000 rushing yards and 425-plus receiving yards, joining Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, and Chase Brown. So, to me, this is elite company. Right, these 4 right here, Brian, Christian, Jahmyr, Devon, elite of the elite. Chase Brown, he's good, just not in the same class as those guys. So I'm going to ask you this question really quick. Is the Falcons running back room the best in the NFL? Yes, it is. Let's be honest with ourselves. We don't lie to each other here on Falcons Today. Get down to the comment section and let me know, yes or no, best in the league. All right, now I want to move over to the bad confirmation here because, Warren, I love you, man. I love your stuff. I constantly use your stuff as statistical evidence in my shows. This might be the worst take you've ever had. So he comes out and says simultaneously that the Falcons secondary is 22nd in the National Football League, just in front of the Cincinnati Bengals and behind the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. What are we talking about? This might be the worst take I've ever seen. Literally, I don't mean that hyperbolically. The Cowboys were the worst defense in the league last year. More on that in a second. Sharp explanation on the Falcons' 22nd ranking. The Falcons secondary dropped from 19th to 20th. So we got worse after a great year. That's crazy. They returned all 5 starters, and yet we got worse. But they added Darnay Holmes and Sidney Brown as key depth pieces before drafting Avion Terrell in the second round. The team did have 16 interceptions last year, which was the 5th most in the NFL. Like, come on, bro. Like, seriously? You just confirmed that you didn't watch any Falcons football last year. You're only going off of analytics. Here's the first thing. The Cowboys were mega dumpster fire booty cheeks last year on defense. I mean, let's just take a look really quickly at some of the numbers. Passing yards per game allowed, 251.5, dead last in the NFL. Points per game allowed, 30.1, dead last in the NFL. Points allowed, total, 511. Dead last allowed. Bro, like, what are we talking about? And then there's this justification from Sharp about the Cowboys defense. And JD is a Cowboys fan. And he even then shaking his head and laughing his ass off over there. He knows it's ridiculous. The Cowboys drafted safety Caleb Downs in the first round. They also added corner Kobe Durant and safety Jalen Thompson in free agency. None of those guys, by the way, are better than anybody the Falcons have. The hope is that the newcomers can help Deron Bland, who is looking to recapture 2023's glory when he had 9 passes intercepted. Thank God we're using 2023 as anecdotal evidence. Jeez Louise, man. This is just high-level copium. It really is. He's got to be a Cowboys fan. He has to be, right? Like, there has to be some sort of bias there towards the Cowboys. Anybody who watched football last year could tell you the worst secondary in the National Football League was the Cowboys. It wasn't close. And what did the Falcons do? Well, they just, like you said, had the 5th most interceptions in the league. So, best safety duo in the league, Xavier Watts, Jesse Bates. And by the way, you got better. Think about all the injuries, right? Billy Bowman played, 5 games, 6 games? And you had to put in D. Alford in that position. And D played better towards the back half of the season. There's no doubt. But he's not Billy Bowman. A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, Watts, Avion, Billy. Like, if this is your starting 5, this is elite. This is top 5. This is top, not 22. It's top 5. Oh, my goodness. What are we talking about here, Warren? I want you to do better, man. Like, put the analytics aside for a little bit. Use the eye test every once in a while. That's all I'm saying. All right, that's how we're going to end today's show. We're going to be back a little bit later on today. Remember, we are still growing. Hit that sub button right now if you could. Trying to get to 55,000 before the season begins. Falcons fans, it truly has been a pleasure. Every single last moment. I will be doing videos for you guys as the weeks progress, the week progresses. But next week, you'll meet your new dude. Until next time, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.